So yesterday, one of the most agonizing congressional inquiries I've ever had to suffer through, and that is actually saying a lot because they all suck. But for hours, one by one, Democrats were grilling Bill Barr, but they decided they didn't want to hear any of his answers. They just wanted to get it out on the record that they despise him as an attorney general, and they descended on him like a pack of wild rabid dogs. Listen to this.
Reclaiming my time.
Yeah, I'm answering your question.
Well, you got to let him answer.
Reclaiming my time.
On February 10th.
Sir.
On February 10th, I directed.
Reclaiming my time, sir. Reclaiming my time. And I know you don't want to answer.
You are wrong, Mr. Attorney General. He's found the investigation had been initiated properly.
He said he found
reclaiming my time without political bias.
He said he
and
found
in
no
April,
evidence.
Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time.
Without any remedy at all.
I'm reclaiming my time.
When people resist law enforcement, they're not peaceful.
Reclaiming my time. I'm surprised at your lack of respect.
Gentlemen,
oh my God.
Time.
I don't want the time. I want the Attorney General to be able to have enough time to respond to accusations and questions asked him, and you guys not cut him off.
What you want is irrelevant.
That's what it was like. The back and forth between the members of the Judiciary Committee exploded into outright ridiculousness yesterday.
Yields back. I would remind Mr. Jordan, Mr. Biggs, and Mr. Johnson to stop violating the rules of the committee, to stop violating the safety of the members of the committee, to stop holding themselves out as not caring by refusing to wear their masks.
Can we get the picture?
Is it permissible to drink a sip of coffee?
It is not permissible.
Not to drink. We can't drink coffee in the room
now.
That's what they were arguing about yesterday. And by the way, if you didn't see the video, that's Nadler saying that with his mask dangling off his chin. The Democrats came to argue they didn't care to hear anything from the Attorney General, and when their arguments clearly lacked any real substance, they yelled and screamed about coffee. If you thought what happened to Brett Kavanaugh was bad, the assault on Barr it set a new low yesterday. Jim Jordan's opening statement ended with a very long video showing the brutality of some of the riots. Americans are not stupid. We know what's going on in places like Portland, and I hate to even gratify what was done yesterday with more airtime, but here's a small snippet of what Bill Barr had to endure yesterday.
A neutral criteria.
So, but you can't tell me whether you discussed...
No, I'm not going to discuss what I discussed with the
Can
president.
you commit today that the department will not use federal law enforcement as a prop in the president's reelection campaign?
We are not using
I just want to close with this thought. You really can't hide behind legal fictions this time, Mr. Barr. It's all out in the open, where the people can see what you are doing for themselves. The president wants footage for his campaign ads, and you appear to be serving it up to him as ordered. In most of these cities, the protests had begun to wind down before you marched in and confronted the protesters. And the protesters aren't mobs. They are mothers and veterans and mayors. In this moment, real leadership would entail de-escalation, collaboration, and looking for ways to peaceably resolve our differences. Instead, you use pepper spray and truncheons on American citizens.
Stop. I can't take it. I can't take it. I can't take it. I can't listen to it a second time. Here's the thing. What more can you give to these quote unquote peaceful protesters? What more can you compromise on? You're already compromising everything there is to be an American. You've compromised on our security. You've compromised on our sanity. You've compromised our history. You've compromised our economy. You've compromised absolutely everything. And you know what? You want to say the protesters aren't mobs? Okay, let's agree. The protesters aren't mobs. But the Attorney General reinforced that point yesterday. But we're not talking about the protesters now, are we? We're talking about the rioters, the looters, the violent insurrectionists that state they want an end to America. It made no difference that Jim Jordan played that long video clip of the violence. It made no difference that Barr tried to make the clarification. Not only did they never give him a chance to actually respond, they didn't care. You could have taken every single Democrat out of that room and replaced them with Marxists dressed as Stalin, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference in their approach. It would have gone down the exact same way. Whatever is left of the Democratic Party is now dead. They have fully jumped in with both feet with the radicals. They are now pushing within the halls of Congress the same talking points that the violent street thugs are using. JFK would be ashamed of that party. His party has now committed character suicide. The vast majority of, and if I may use air quotes, questions centered around the conflating of the protesters with the rioters and the government's use of force. And every time he even attempted to correct their lies, he was shouted down with, "I'm reclaiming my time. I've never seen anything like it." Now, I'm not surprised that they didn't veer from their strategy. This entire thing, all of it, is about one thing, and Congressman Jordan hit it out of the park during his opening statement. Here he is.
Fired. Now, how do they continue the cover-up? Real simple. Jim Comey leaks his memos with the express purpose of getting a special counsel appointed to investigate something they already know is not true. And that's exactly what happened. We get 2 years, 19 lawyers, 40 agents, 500 witnesses, 2,800 subpoenas, and a $30 million cost to the taxpayer, and they come back with nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so all they got left is to attack the Attorney General, who had the courage to state the truth right from the get-go, the first time he testifies after he's confirmed. And you guys attack him every day, every week, and now you filed articles of impeachment against him. It's ridiculous. He had the courage to do what no one else would do at the Justice Department. Sally Yates wouldn't call it spying. Jeff Sessions wouldn't do it. Rod Rosenstein wouldn't do it. Chris Wray sure as heck isn't going to do it. So, Mr. Attorney General, I want to thank you for having the courage to call it what it was, spying.
It's amazing that one of the charges the Democrats are lobbying about Barr is that he fired a U.S. attorney because he was investigating Trump. The truth is that the Democrats are trying to impeach Barr for the exact same thing. This is about one thing, covering up a coup. Now, that was madness to say that a year ago, but the evidence is clear. The Attorney General is working with the U.S. Attorney John Durham to investigate the origins of the bogus Russia investigation. That makes him Democratic enemy number one, and they are desperate. They are afraid and cannot let the truth come out. But I don't know if the truth is even spoken in America, if it matters anymore. But that is what yesterday was all about. But the truth will eventually come out. Even so, somehow or another, I fear we won't be satisfied because there are too many powerful people involved. You know, when it comes to the inevitable fallout from Obamagate, there's one thing you can absolutely count on. There won't be one single high-profile indictment, and you can take that to the bank. We know. We have the evidence. We have the testimony. We have the written documents at the time. We know that Biden was the first one to bring up the Logan Act to go after General Flynn. We know that Obama told the FBI to reopen their investigation into Flynn after they had officially cleared him and closed the investigation the day before, saying there is nothing here. We know that John Brennan was getting information from British intelligence in unofficial meetings. We know that the debunked Steele dossier was used to obtain a FISA warrant to spy on members of the Trump campaign. We know all of this. But don't expect any big names to go down for anybody because they're all protected. They're all protected. They're all part of the Klan. And yes, I use that word intentionally. They're all part of the Klan that uses fear and intimidation, and they use money. They use their power, and they are going to change the world. That's what they believe. Now, somebody is going to answer for these crimes. I think several people will, but the big dogs, they're going to walk away. The chihuahuas are going to take the rap. Somebody has to go down, but it won't be from the political elite on the left. The Democrats tried to destroy Donald Trump. because Donald Trump will not go along with their hostile takeover of this country and the hijacking of the world. You mark my words. If you think that you don't understand a country today, if you think you've lost your country today, you will not recognize the country a year from now. This country, you won't forget about what you used to think America was. You won't recognize this country a year from now. This is a multi-layer operation. The Democrats tried to destroy Trump during the election. Then later they doubled down after he won. The first layer is right at the very top. Obama, Biden, Power, Rice, Comey, and Brennan. That's it. The highest levels of this administration in the worst scandal of American history that nobody wants to talk about, even though we now have the evidence. We have their own handwritten notes from that Oval Office meeting, and then later revealed through congressional testimony and the FBI's documentation and their notes. But the second layer, the individual mid-level government employees, people like Bruce Orr over at the DOJ and Peter Strzok at the FBI, there's more names involved, but these were the foot soldiers in the silent coup. Now I have to point this out because as more information is revealed, you're going to see individuals from the bottom layers of the operation. They're going to start getting into trouble. You're going to see the top layers insulated. They'll be protected. You probably won't even see the second layer, but you'll see the third layer. They're the ones that are going to get indicted. They're the ones that will take the fall, and little by little, those names are going to be revealed as well. Let's connect a few more dots here with new information that has been coming out while we've all been cowering in fear from coronavirus. Without the Steele dossier, none of this ever happened, okay? We all know this. It was the catalyst for everything. Now, here's some news you probably don't know unless you're a geek like we are and we follow this. We know that the person as the, quote, primary subsource, the one who gave most of this information for the Steele dossier, we know now who he is, something that no one else knew. The FBI said he was just a Russian-based source. But as per congressional sources and documents reported by Real Clear Investigations, Steele's main source was Igor Denenchko. Have you ever heard that name? Of course you haven't. Welcome to the third layer, okay? These are the people that are going to get nailed. Now, Igor, or was it, why isn't it Igor? Well, it isn't. If Igor goes down, he's going to go down because he's, according to Steele, he was hired to, quote, deploy a network of sources to dig up dirt on Trump and Russia. But the problem was that Igor wasn't living in Russia at the time. The source that the FBI claimed was a Russian-based source wasn't living in Russia. He was here in the United States. So now we look into Igor and what he did with sources, because he had a network of sources. But his network of sources, as the FBI points out in these documents now released, were, get this, his drinking buddies. I kid you not. The FBI concluded the intelligence gathered from Igor was nothing more than drunken conversations from his, quote, social circle. You can't make this stuff up. It's ridiculous. These drunken conversations were the thing that got everybody to sign off on the entire Russia collusion investigation. Oh, but wait, it gets worse. So why was this Russian national that Steele was using living here in the U.S.? Get ready, more names in the third layer. Turns out that Igor loved to drink, and he had been arrested multiple times for public intoxication. And after one of the arrests, he was ordered to undergo drug testing, attend substance abuse therapy, and mental health counseling. Guess where you won't find this information? Yeah, not in any of the FBI reports. So maybe it's just me, but it seems kind of relevant to the credibility of this whole thing if he is the original source of the discredited Steele dossier, that he was ordered to go in for a mental evaluation, and he's a known drunk, and all of his sources are his drinking buddies. So while he was getting arrested for being a drunken ass, he was also employed. Now, who would employ him? Well, the liberal think tank, the Brookings Institute. While there, he became the protege of, wait for it, you're going to love this, Fiona Hill. Do you remember Fiona Hill? Fiona was one of the star witnesses in the impeachment hearings. She's the one that looks like Snape, from Harry Potter. Come on, I can say that I look like Colonel Sanders. Nobody's perfect. But it turns out Hill had connections to Christopher Steele. They were old friends from back in the day. And as per her testimony, the two of them had meetings in 2016. Now, something weird was going on at Brookings. Steele, the author of the dossier that kickstarted the entire Russian hoax, hired the former Brookings Institute researcher as his primary source, who was a protege at Brookings under one of the impeachment's star witnesses, and was actively meeting with them as he was leaking everything out under the FBI's noses. But it doesn't end there. Fiona Hill's boss at the time was the Brookings president, Strobe Talbot. He also met with Steele when he obtained the copy of the dossier, and Strobe then passed it off to Fiona Hill. Strobe's brother-in-law, Cody Shearer, compiled his own dossier during the same time that mirrored a lot of what Steele had said. Steele then showed that to the FBI to corroborate his own work. Seems like all of this is coming from Brookings. After Trump won the election, it was the Brookings president that encouraged Fiona Hill to leave the think tank and pursue a job at the White House. Are you kidding me here? They are opening up a full-blown investigation into the role now of Brookings and what they played in this entire fiasco, riddled with Obama and former Clinton staff members. This may be the holding tank for the deep state. But you want to know who's going down for this? The drunken Russian and his think tank buddies.